Doctor Strange, master of the mystic arts. Well, he's got a new movie out, so it's obviously the perfect time to take a look at the Doctor Strange comic books. It was created in the early 1960s by Steve Ditko, who's probably best known as co-creating Spider-Man, but I think a lot of his passion lied with Doctor Strange. A trippy, weird superhero that explored more the metaphysical side of things. He would go and explore the universe or time, stuff like that, instead of just fighting a supervillain. Now, there have been several interesting runs on Doctor Strange. Some of them aren't so good, but Steve Ditko's run was great, and one that I really liked was throughout the 1970s, writer Steve Englehart teamed up with artist Frank Brunner and then later Gene Colan, and they had a really interesting Doctor Strange run. I think it's a lot of fun, and their final issue was kind of bug nuts insane. I think it's what we need to review today. So first step, let's go hit the comic book store. That's the Empire State Building, and right around the corner is JHU Comic Books. In 1985, Jim Hanley and a partner started Jim Hanley's Universe. It was one of the biggest comic book stores in Manhattan, and because of its location right across the street from Empire State Building, tons of Marvel and DC employees at the time used to go and shop there, and they'd even trade their copies of comic books for other things that they didn't have. Jim Hanley specialized in all sorts of independent and alternative comics as well as the mainstream stuff. Anyway, in 2013, they sold themselves. It's now JHU Comic Books, and it's 2 blocks away from the Empire State Building, but it's still a big store here in Manhattan, and I'm sure we can find what we're looking for here. Let's take a look. Found it. Doctor Strange, Volume 2, Issue 18 from 1976. This was Steve Englehart's final issue, but he didn't plan for it to be the final issue. We'll get into that as we review it. What I want to do, I want to take a look at the tropes that you could reasonably expect to find in any given issue of Doctor Strange. Let's see how many of them we come across in this particular issue, and for every trope we come across, I'm going to do magic. I don't do magic. I don't know how to do magic. I'm going to try to do magic. Alright, so here first of all are the tropes that you could reasonably expect to find in any issue of Doctor Strange. Visiting another dimension. Meeting the embodiment of a concept like death or eternity. Forgetting he can fly. Using a new power casually, usually just one time. Regularly going to the astral plane, even though it's supposed to be very risky. Using any of the following catchphrases. Hoary hosts of Hoggoth, crimson bands of Kittirak, Eye of Agamotto, moons of Manipur, rings of Ragador, wand of Watum, Vishanti be praised, vipers of Valtor, omnipotent Oshter, flawless flames of the Faltine, shades of the Seraphim, illusions of Icon, fangs of Farala, demons of Danak. Doctor Strange has the most catchphrases out of any superhero I've ever come across. It's insane how many phrases he has at the tip of his tongue. A monster's attacking, or somebody shoots a spell at him, and he can roll off some alliterative phrase like hoary hosts of Hoggoth. It's pretty silly, but it's funny. He's got a lot of them. He uses them regularly. Let's read this issue, see what we come across. Our story begins in long ago London, where Doctor Strange has met Sir Francis Bacon. He's along with his pupil and girlfriend Clea, who comes from another dimension. So basically, the last few issues, Doctor Strange has been traveling back in time, gathering sort of knowledge about the mystical nature of America's founding. So it was both a history lesson and an adventure. It was almost like a Doctor Who type of story more than anything else. It was a lot of fun. Having wrapped up the adventure with Sir Francis Bacon, Doctor Strange and Clea magically teleport through time 150 years later to a ship in London that's leaving for America, and that has Benjamin Franklin, one of our founding fathers, aboard. Doctor Strange and Clea are dressed like total weirdos, but for some reason he says that they're dressed appropriately. As in, Doctor Strange doesn't need to cast an illusion or anything. He just walks up in his gaudy, super bright costume, and everybody's just like, yep, that's about right. 1776, this is how we dress. One thing he does need is a boarding pass, and you'd think that this ship would actually be full, but he magically creates a boarding pass. I don't see how that would also create room for them, but yeah, he creates a magic boarding pass. That's a new power. What a convenient new power. The ability to create boarding passes and somehow space on the boat. Clea is actually from another dimension, so that gives Doctor Strange an excuse to teach her who Benjamin Franklin, and therefore the reader, who he is. I gotta admit, I really get a kick out of Doctor Strange's mustache here. These days he's always drawn with a goatee. But back here, he's got sort of this weird pencil mustache. He kind of reminds me a little of Vincent Price. I've heard that that was one of the inspirations for Steve Ditko's original drawings. I'm not sure. Dr. Strange rattles off Ben Franklin's multiple accomplishments as a philosopher and an inventor, and then he also says that he was in a secret society that read up on magics, and that's why he wants to meet this guy. I also get a big kick out of him mentioning that Ben Franklin was a ladies' man. And apparently that's true. We look at these pictures and he's sort of this portly, bald guy. He invented bifocals. Not our common idea of what a ladies' man is. But we're going to see that Ben Franklin and what history tells us is definitely right. So even though Doctor Strange said that their clothes were totally appropriate for the era, they do switch into what everybody else is wearing. They go down below deck after the ship is taken off, and they introduce themselves to Ben Franklin, and instantly Franklin's hitting on Clea going like, hey, you're pretty charming. In fact, Ben Franklin says he expected to meet Doctor Strange. He'd been reading Francis Bacon's old writings, and he expected that one day he would bump into Doctor Strange. That's kind of cool. But before they can get too deep into conversation, a huge sea monster attacks the ship, and Doctor Strange shouts out one of his catchphrases, "By the hoary hosts of Hoggoth." Can you imagine if you were just somebody on the ship and all of a sudden somebody shouted that out? You'd be going like, oh shit! And he'd be going, "By the hoary hosts of Hoggoth." Like, oh, okay, buddy. If we hadn't already used this trope, it comes up again right here. All of a sudden, Doctor Strange has a new spell to dispel this sea beast. It doesn't quite work though, and why not? Because there's an evil wizard aboard the ship. It's one of Doctor Strange's lamest villains ever, Stigiro? I mean, who can say exactly how it's pronounced? He only showed up in like 3 issues ever. He looks like a kid's version of an evil wizard. He wears a blue cloak and one of those pointy top hats with stars all over it, and he's got like the long wispy beard. I mean, it's a total cliche. It's nothing to write home about. As soon as he's confronted, Stigiro and the sea beast disappear. Cowards. Doctor Strange and Clea head back to their quarters, and Doctor Strange is sulking and brooding and thinking about, what to do next. And Clea all of a sudden is like, "You're not paying enough attention to me." I don't know where that comes from. These guys have always been perfectly attuned. They're from other dimensions, but they've got all this stuff in common. They're attracted to each other. All of a sudden she's like, "You don't pay enough attention to me." I mean, the guy is trying to protect you from sea monsters. This next bit is never really explained, but all of a sudden all the other passengers aboard disappear except for Doctor Strange, Clea, and Benjamin Franklin. And before they know it, all of a sudden the ship in the middle of the ocean encounters this massive hole. There's just a hole where the water is just flowing down into it. It's some sort of mystical portal or something to the bottom of the ocean. Now Doctor Strange is able to pause the ship, but he can't get it to reverse, and he decides to go investigate what's at the bottom of this hole. Obviously, it's something that Stigiro has created. Doctor Strange orders Clea to protect Ben while he goes to investigate, and we've got another trope. Doctor Strange says, by the 12 moons of Manipur. That one doesn't even roll off the tongue. That's a tough one to say. At the bottom of the waves, literally the bottom of the ocean, Doctor Strange comes across Atlantis. And as he investigates, he even has a passing comment about how it's like a few centuries removed from where Namor the Submariner lives. So at least they're acknowledging that it's not like some separate instance of Atlantis. But it's Atlantis, and it's a source of magic. Supposedly there were magicians and sorcerers, maybe thousands of years ago back there. And he's investigating this sort of abandoned version of Atlantis. And while he does that, Ben Franklin starts whining and dining Clea. He just instantly is hitting on her. At first, Ben Franklin assumes that they're married, and Clea's like, no, there's no ring. We're not married. And Ben Franklin's like, yeah. While investigating Atlantis, Doctor Strange comes across a statue that he recognizes as a young Stigiro, and then instantly the sea monster appears, but now it's got Stigiro's face on it. I don't know why Stigiro wouldn't want to just keep using the sea monster as is, why he'd want to sort of merge with it and put his face on it. It definitely doesn't look cool, but whatever, I guess he wanted more control, and he attacks Doctor Strange. And while he does that, it seems that Benjamin Franklin successfully seduces Clea, and they sleep together. This is so bizarre. I mean, it's implied as strongly as you possibly could in these comic code approved days. That they talk pillow talk, he douses the light, and he lies down on top of her. I mean, Ben Franklin has seduced Clea. That's right, Doctor Strange lost his girlfriend to a big fat balding guy from history. So that is just the weirdest thing I've ever come across in a Doctor Strange comic. Like I said earlier, this was Steve Englehart's final issue. I don't know the full history of it, but it definitely happened kind of suddenly. And an editor, Marv Wolfman, stepped in very quickly in the next issue to sort of continue and wrap up the story. And he said that it was Stigiro posing as Ben Franklin. But that really doesn't make sense, because Stigiro and Ben Franklin are very clearly in two places at two separate times, and Stigiro never had this ability to sort of be in two places at once. It was their attempt to sort of backpedal out of that story, because I think that they didn't know where Englehart was going with it. However, much, much later in Deadpool, Deadpool meets the ghost of Ben Franklin, and it is mentioned that Ben Franklin slept with Doctor Strange's girlfriend, and Doctor Strange says he's not happy about it because he guest stars in that issue. It's pretty funny. Doctor Strange and Stigiro then have a pretty average mystical fight, throwing fire back and forth at one another, destroying the Atlantis columns and buildings and tombs. Eventually, Stigiro gives up, he retreats, and all of a sudden, all the water from the ocean starts to pour back into that mystical hole. Demons of Danak, yeah. Doctor Strange is beating Stigiro, it ruins his concentration, brings in the water, and that's what Doctor Strange thinks to himself. He thinks, demons of Danak, look at all this water. So you're Doctor Strange, and you have an entire ocean pouring down on top of you. What would you start to do? If I was Doctor Strange, I would fly straight up, because that's a thing that you can do. But he just sort of gets surrounded by the water, and he actually gets saved by Clea. Clea pulls him out mystically. Whenever it's convenient, Doctor Strange just doesn't fly, even though that's something he should be able to do. Anyway, that's where the issue ends, is he does get pulled up out of the water, and he, Clea, and Ben Franklin are aboard the boat alone. Stigiro's still out there, to be continued. And like I say, the next issue is written by somebody else, and it doesn't quite fit. What a weird issue. What a fun issue, though. Seriously, the artwork is pretty gorgeous, I think. I think anybody can agree with that. And Englehart's run has a lot of really cool stuff. I strongly recommend that. Some other good Doctor Strange stories. Obviously, the very first stuff by Ditko is worth reading because it establishes so many important characters and just the world that Doctor Strange lives within. I think The Oath by Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin is a fantastic limited series. That's a little more recent. One of my personal favorites is a single graphic novel. I believe it was written by Roger Stern. Anyway, it's called Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom. And you know what? I won't give up the whole story, but basically, Doctor Strange is put into a position where he has to help Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom wants to save his mother's soul from the devil. It's a really interesting. It's more of a Doctor Doom story to a degree, but Doctor Strange is very prominent in it. So those are some good stories worth checking out. All right, I said that I would do magic. I'm gonna try. This will probably be very embarrassing, but I've got to do 5 magic tricks. So let's get to it. So sorry, first of all, about the lawnmower going, but I'm gonna try to use my mental powers first with this normal deck of cards. You guys can see that it's not like anything weird, right? That it's just like a regular deck of cards, like they're not marked or anything weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Standard rig deck.
First, I'm gonna be able to tell which card it is. Don't show it
Jason,
to me.
you're not in the shot.
That's okay. He can
Okay.
be. You can like move it around and stuff. Pick a card, any card. You can look at it. You can even show it to the camera. Don't show it to me.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Put it on top.
Oh, now he knows which card it is.
No, I don't. Cut the deck. Cut the deck.
Oh.
Anywhere you want. Okay. I'm gonna need some help out of the deck to find it. I'm gonna get 2 jacks to help me find it.
Oh, I don't know any jacks.
Where's the other one? Hold on, I'm just flipping through these real quick. Oh, I know that there's 2 jacks in here because it's a regular deck.
I saw 2 jacks.
Yeah, I was looking for like the red ones, but
I saw one.
Chrissy's gonna do
Saw
some
2.
close up.
I saw both of the red ones.
All right, well you help me. Pull out the red ones,
But only at 215.
or just
Yeah.
pull out any 2 jacks. You know what? They can be black. I just like I like the red ones because they help me. There it is. They help me figure it out. All right, so these guys are magic, and they will pull out of this deck the card that you chose. I'm going to put one on either end like this,
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't even know they had hands.
and I'll go 1, 2, 3, and check that card in the middle. Is that your card?
Yeah.
Show the.
What?
That's a rig
Magic!
deck.
Okay, so for this next trick, you've got a dollar bill. I am going to destroy this dollar.
Yes!
And then I'm going to
Fire.
bring it back to life.
Wow.
May I see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regular dollar bill.
Oh my god. He just ripped a
Can
dollar
I use that for my
bill.
collage? Oh wait, no, I don't need green.
Oh wait, I don't need green.
All right.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Magic!
Totally. Oh, these are good. These are good. Never seen this stuff before.
I know. I gotta really concentrate on this one.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, he made the glasses disappear.
Wow.
Well, here's what I'm really about to do. See, you see the coin?
That's a quarter. You
That's
turned
a quarter.
penny into a
This is my
quarter?
magic wand. Now
Okay.
you see it.
Yeah.
Now you don't.
No.
Now you do again.
Wow. That's damn good.
All right. Here we go for real. Ready?
Okay, yeah.
All right. So
Oh.
1, 2.
Magic!
What?
The pen's in your ear.
The
You
what?
made the pen disappear.
Yeah.
No, I need my quarterback.
What?
I can give you this pen instead.
God, oh
I
my
need my quarterback.
I'm such a terrible magician.
Hey, man. Okay, I can make my thumb come apart.
All right. Oh,
Oh yeah, there was that other one. Whoa!
all right. Then here we go. I can, when I work really hard at this, I can get my thumb literally through my ear. It hurts though. Ow!
Oh my god.
Ouch!
Ouch.
Magic! And now it's time for me to disappear with my magic cloak. Ready? 1, 2, 3.